All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Bailey?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Good evening. My name is Cheryl Felice, Board President, and I would just like to just announce that Ms. Regina Hunt is not here tonight. She did have a death in her family, so we do extend our condolences to her and her family. So the first item that we have on the agenda, of course, is to remind you of the emergency exits and to remind you that the South Country School District is a smoke-free campus. There's no smoking anywhere on the campus. And if you would just take the time now to just look around to where the exit signs are, in the event of emergency, that you exit calmly through them and receive instructions on the way out and to the parking lot. Next, we have board consent agenda item for the minutes. We need a motion and a second to approve. You have to abstain. Motion by Ms. DeSanto, seconded by Ms. Malin. Discussion on the minutes. Seeing no discussions, are you ready to vote? All those in favor of the minutes, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Are there any abstentions? Then there would be one abstention by Dr. Griffin. Seeing most hands raised, the minutes of February 6th are approved by majority. The next two items on the consent agenda, items 2 through 4, Treasurer's Report, Annual Meeting and Election Hours, and also the New York State Superintendent's Evaluation Workshop attendance that will be attended by Ms. DeSanto. Need a motion and a second for C2 through 4. Motion by Dr. Griffin, seconded by Ms. Malin. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Communications and announcement? Yes?
Oh, you say, Madam President, if we would just note for the public the change in the time
The
for
change in
elections.
time of what?
For the annual election.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
we'll move to
That would
six.
be
All right, we'll
important.
have the superintendent report that in his report. Thank you for that, that reminder. Absolutely.
Okay,
All right,
I guess that's my turn.
that is your cue.
Okay, so let me kick that off. The board has just approved changing our board vote and election time from 6:30 to 6 a.m. So it will now be 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. on May 21st. And then moving right along, I'd like to congratulate our varsity boys basketball team, who had a very successful season, finishing as league champions. Unfortunately, their postseason road to the county championship ended with a loss to Brentwood High School in the semifinal round. Still much to be proud of. Congratulations to all boys, their families, and of course the coaching staff.
They got robbed.
Congratulations also goes to those involved in an outstanding production of Rent. I had the opportunity to see the first family and friends production and every aspect of the performance. The actors, set, pit, crew, sound, lighting, stage crew, etc. was flawless. Congratulations to all. And tomorrow, February 28th, we'll be hosting a reception recognizing the artists and their work that is displayed throughout the central office gallery. Light refreshments will be served, and you can please join us at 7 p.m. And then finally, just a quick update on the Frank P. Long window and door installments. Installation commenced first week of February. To this point, nearly 1/3 of the windows have been installed. We've got a lot of work done over the winter break. The exterior door installment is to commence tomorrow. Approximately 80 in total doors will be installed. Feedback from our staff thus far has been very positive. Staff actually commented they could actually see through the windows. The project is slated for completion at the end of April as scheduled. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gianni. Now we have the trustees and advisory committee reports. Carla, would you like to begin?
I can't believe this Friday is the first day of March. I feel like February and January flew by. But with that being said, Spirit Month will begin in 2 days at the high school, and Student Council has a few things planned for the month of March that I'd like to share. We would like to introduce the Penny Wars, a fundraising competition to raise money for the Children's Leukemia Society. We have done this type of class competition before and found it to be an exciting way to earn money for a good cause. Each grade will have a container to place pennies or bills to earn points for their grade, while silver coins will deduct points from other grades. We are hoping to achieve great participation from all of the grades, and the grade with the most points will win a prize. We also have our annual Academic Jeopardy competition on March 20th during the school day, where 4 students from each grade will compete by answering questions to earn points. Students will get to watch their classmates play if they do not have the opportunity to be selected for their grade. Stuco is also looking to implement a wall of positivity in the main office, which will allow students or anyone interested to write positive notes or compliments about faculty or staff members to brighten their day. The messages would be monitored by Stuco to make sure that they are all appropriate. We have many more ideas that we learned about on our trip to DC for the LEAP conference that we would like to bring to our school in the coming months. The last thing I would like to include is that the Stuco is looking to apply for the National Council of Excellence Award, which is given through the National Student Council. This award recognizes high school organizations that provide leadership activities and service to their schools and communities. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sanders?
Well, let's see. As already mentioned, of course, the production of Rent at the high school was phenomenal. And as I always tell everyone who is present, if you've never taken the opportunity to enjoy any of the theater productions here in the district, I hope that you will take advantage of that. And that being said, please mark your calendars, because Variety Show will be here before we know it, and that is April 12th and April 13th at the high school at 7:30. If you're not already aware, Variety Show is very much a student-produced musical with skits and all sorts of dancing and action. And this year's theme is the 1980s. So it's the 1980s. So for those of us who grew up in the 80s, I think we can definitely relate to what's going on. So I do encourage you to make yourself available either on April 12th or April 13th. It's always a really funny show if you haven't done so. Additionally, I wanted to mention for anyone who's here or anyone who's listening or watching on YouTube, Friday, March 1st is the beginning of registration for our pre-K program. So I'm hoping that we will be hearing shortly about our plans for advertising that. In some years, we've really had an all-out effort in getting out to the community and letting people know about the phenomenal pre-K program that we have. And as many of you know, early literacy is really the key to lifelong success, and it does start pre-K. So I'm hoping that we will see an increase in our enrollment in pre-K, because it does make a difference. Also wanted to mention, again, with Friday being the beginning of March, I can't believe we're here, the second week of March, March 4th through to the 7th, we have many of our committee meetings. So if anyone in the community hasn't taken a look at our committees and was interested in serving on committees, it might be a good idea. You can avail yourself of those opportunities. On Monday the 4th, we have a Finance and Facilities Advisory Committee. On the 5th, we have the Health and Safety Advisory Committee. On the 6th, the Strategic Planning Committee. And the one near and dear to my heart, on Thursday the 7th, it's the Teaching and Learning Advisory Committee. So if anyone is truly interested in some of these areas and wondering what programs and opportunities that we have in the district, this is a great way to find out a little bit more about the district. All the information is on the school calendar. It's also on the website, because some of the committee meetings do vary in their start time. And One last thing I'll mention about that, this is my own little public service announcement. I'm hoping that, before we know it, we'll be scheduling for next year, that we really do think twice about having committee meetings earlier than 7 o'clock. Having the meetings earlier than 7 makes it very difficult for people who work and commute to attend meetings, and so we do kind of disenfranchise some people. So I realize some of the subcommittees meet a little earlier because of scheduling, but I do believe that our major committees should meet at 7 o'clock so more people can participate in those committee meetings, because if we're going to build community, we need to be able to include all members of the community, not just those who either can take off from work or are available earlier in the day.
That's a good point.
It really is much more inclusive if we do it that way. So I think that is it for current business, and I'll have some other comments at the end.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Phelan?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mr. Pacini?
Yeah, I have a couple quick things. First, congratulations to everybody that was involved in Rent. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay for the whole thing. We had a platoon of sick kids that week, so my wife and I's plans to see it together were thwarted, but I did get to see most of it. I apologize for leaving early, but I am always amazed at the number of remarkable singers we have in this district. It amazes me. As I mentioned briefly before in my outburst, a short outburst, I am still not over the varsity basketball team's loss to Brentwood, a game that should have been held in a neutral site, was held in Brentwood. Lots of controversy in it where people bought, and it is kind of unfortunate, and I did see the head of Section 11 at the county championship game on Sunday, but there was a system to pre-purchase tickets in advance, yet the gym filled up, so roughly 200 people that bought tickets online could not get into the gym because of capacity. So there was some very upset parents, probably from both teams, that they didn't get to see the last, some parents in Bellport, it was the last chance to see their kid play if they had a senior. So it was unfortunate, and well, anything else I say, it's gonna sound like a sore loser, but I'm not over it. So, but it's been a remarkable season, and I hope we have the team here to congratulate them soon, because there was some remarkable performance by some remarkable kids and coaches that are truly worthy of recognition by this board. With that, and then there's another piece that I alluded to earlier, I wanted to mention, and I wanted to mention it now. There is somewhat of a new phenomenon that I learned about on Facebook that is concerning to parents of young kids like myself. There is something called the Momo Challenge. If anybody hasn't heard of this, it is relatively new and started, I believe, in Europe. And what it is, and I don't know if it's hacking or not, but there's videos being uploaded to YouTube. Anybody has young kids, my kids are on YouTube more than they watch TV. Peppa Pig, popular kids show, and Fortnite videos are the two main targets. And halfway through some of these videos, there are eerie images of a person explaining to children how to harm themselves. And it is very serious. I saw some screenshots of some of these things. I don't think my kids have seen it yet. There's some discussion on some of the Facebook forums with parents this week about it. And I think much like we did a few years ago with the Netflix show that discussed suicide, I think this might be something we should learn about and at least make parents aware to look for this and to pay a little bit closer attention to what kids are watching online. I have some of the images on my phone, and it is it's almost like a Tim Burton claymation character that is very eerie and explains to kids. And I've seen images of, if anybody knows what Peppa Pig is a European cartoon, which is a bunch of pigs. It's mostly younger kids. But I mean, I've seen some images of Peppa Pig, with a hatch in her head. So things along those lines. So this is serious, and having, like I said, 2 8-year-olds who spend a lot of time, and my son watches, and unbeknownst to me, a little crazy that kids watch videos of other people playing Fortnite instead of playing the game themselves. There's some stuff embedded in those, and that's very popular right now amongst our elementary school kids. Some of the kids that parents have talked about have heard about it, some have not. Like I said, my kids haven't said anything. My wife and I are going to address it this week. But I do believe we should learn about it and maybe just send out a communication to parents There's some parents who are recommending some sort of forum in schools. I think that's a little much. But I do think we should make parents
Yeah, I
aware.
haven't heard about it.
Like I said, I feel like I'm in tune to what's going on. And it's Sydney News today, I learned about it. So, I do think we should look into it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Nix?
Just want to echo the fellow trustees and say that I saw the production of Rent with President Felice. We went together and it was fabulous. Loved it. We both had tears streaming down our face. It was really a beautiful thing, and it always amazes me. I also want to thank the French teacher in the high school, Dr. K, who invited me to go to her Valentine's Day contest. I had to end up backing out due to work conflicts, but I got to see some photos after, and they were phenomenal. And I hope to go next year. And it's funny because Trustee Puccini actually stole what I was going to say. This Momo challenge,
you heard
I was
about it too.
discussing that today at work as well. It was actually the #1 trending topic on Twitter when I woke up this morning. And that's how I found out about it. It's terrifying. I saw some of the images, and it would scare the hell out of me if I saw it popped up on a video I was watching. So I think it's something that we should definitely look into about informing parents about this, because kids might not know what they're watching. That's all I have.
Dr. Griffin?
Hello.
Hello?
I missed the last meeting, but I'm grateful to have seen our basketball team play against my home, my work district, Central Islip. So it was kind of a unique experience. But I remember going to basketball games as a Central Islip High School student, and there was kind of a tension. I can't tell you how proud I was to be from both places. The crowd was absolutely amazing. It was one of the best experiences, both great, talented teams, but I had the opportunity to sit behind our basketball team. And as good as they are on the court, our players are better human beings. And I was particularly touched after the game. The players stayed and shook hands with all the little kids that are basketball players. And the class and the character of our players just is absolutely inspiring, and it makes you proud to be from South Country. And I really hope, and I second Mr. Puccini's suggestion that we should honor them, because they go above and beyond. I've seen Jarrell go to young kids, pat them on the back, give them a high five, and he's a hero. And so to have that as our students is truly remarkable and says a lot about our district. And I've spoken about our basketball team to my Central Islip basketball players about the kind of class that our teams have. And so I'm really proud of them, and I want to send a real thank you to the players and the coaches. The second thing is I got an opportunity. I didn't get to speak about it last meeting. I was not here, but I got a chance to go to Brookhaven Elementary, and it's one of the schools that has been designated as one of the schools getting support and going to get some kind of improvement. And I was thinking about this because sometimes schools come across as being labeled as failures. And so I know Brookhaven. I've had my kids all gone through Brookhaven, 2 are still there. And I wanted to go in there and say, did something change? So I was actually welcomed very graciously by our principal and vice principal. And of course, it was exactly as I expected. It's a school of 3 things: love, laughter, and learning. And it was no game, it was no gimmick, it was no test scores, it was true. I walked in, of course, got greeted by 2 great security guards who know every kid by name. Walked down the hallways to the kindergarten section, and I saw parents there with the kids throwing like little sock snowballs to try to learn how to count. Everybody was engaged. It was a community feel, and I'm like, well, this is what a failing school looks like, huh? And I walked down a little bit more, and I got to see the second graders, and the kids are all involved with computers sections, and they're active. I'm watching kids walk down the halls in complete silence and dedicated, like I'm gonna be the best walker down the hallway. And then I go down, I'm looking on the walls, and there are essays, persuasive essays written by our 3rd grade students that would blow the doors off a 12th grade student, saying this is what a failing school looks like. And then I really got touched, and I was kind of already a little bit emotional. I'm like, I'm so impressed. This is such a great school. Thank you so much, Dr. Raymond. And I saw my son's third grade teacher, and she's a phenomenal educator. And she's walking her kids to the cafeteria, and there's a little girl in the class that I know very well because I've read to the class. I know her by name, and she came up and gave the teacher a hug. I was like, oh, that's what we know. Hug for a teacher. And so she said, can I have lunch with you? And of course, she said, of course. And so I'm gonna get a little emotional, but she goes grab her lunch, and she says her mom just passed. Cancer. I'm like, what are you doing to me? So and Dr. Raymond, of course, we're all getting, and I'm like, this is what a failing school looks like. And I'm just absolutely dumbfounded that I see what my kids come home with, the work that they do, the joy that they have, how much they love going to school, and it's something that hurts, I think, most of us to our cores when we hear that we're being labeled, or we need support and we need improvement. Every school needs support and improvement. Everyone. And to not know the school and get that designation is something that we should all be really concerned about, that this is what's happening. We're being designated for support and improvement, guide words for failing school. So I left, and I really appreciate the words that Dr. Gianni sent in the letter. This is not who we are. This is something we've been designated, but it's not who we are. And so I just wanted to say a thank you to all the parents. Like, we're not what we get told. We're not numbers. Our kids are not numbers. Our teachers are not the scores that our kids get, whether they take the test or not. There's great things happening in Brookhaven, and there are amazing things happening in Brookhaven Bellport Middle School. I have a son there, and I can't believe the changes I'm seeing in that school. And I challenge any educator to find something failing in those schools, because what's going on is great. I'm extremely proud to be a South Country resident. I'm very proud to be on this board. And I want to say for sure that any kind of improvement, any kind of support we can get, I hope it's reflected when we talk about money, when the state's giving money out. Because that's the truth. You want to support us? Give us some money. When you talk about cut funding, your support seems a little disingenuous. The improvement, how? So I just wanted to say thank you really passionately to everyone at Brookhaven Elementary and to Bellport Middle School. You're not a failing school. I'm very proud to have my kids go there, and I want to say thank you to all the efforts that you guys do. Sincerely, so thank you.
And I have to do this. We started talking about Brookhaven last meeting when we were in here, and you couldn't, truer words couldn't be spoken. To the point that you raised about the young student who lost her parent to, it was her mother?
Her mother.
To cancer. We have a student we have a graduate of this district, the Blakesley family. Courtney Lynn Blakesley passed away from cancer while she was pregnant with her second child. And her sister, Lindsay, started a foundation, Courtney Blakesley Foundation. And that foundation reaches out to children who lost their parents to cancer. And they sponsor in any way the family needs help. They bring them to sporting events so that and what they do that's most admirable is they keep the spirit of that parent alive. And so if there's some way we can work with the district to put the two in touch with one another, I think it would be very beneficial for both, especially since Courtney is a graduate of Bellport, her sister is a graduate of Bellport.
Yes.
And they have a fundraiser that just so happens to be coming up. I know Mr. Nick's race is in it, he runs in it. Their fundraiser is coming up. It's always on Mother's Day weekend. And it's going to be May 11th this year. It's always at Corey Beach. It's a 5-mile walk or run. And a tremendous amount of money is raised to help children like you described. So let's put our heads together and see if we can help that young girl. All right?
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Terrific. Was that the conclusion of your?
That was, yes, that was the end.
Okay. I'm on to my report now.
When you, I wanted to piggyback off of that, but if I could wait, because there's something else. I
Off of
wanted-
the
Yes.
Courtney issue or
Well,
the
even
school?
what Dr.
Okay.
Griffin had mentioned, you know, so often, especially for those of us who are educators, we see the heart in a building. And sometimes there are people who, in any district, who are more the dollars and cents. And so having sat at this board table for 10 years now, having been a certified secondary educator for 33 years, and having worked in all of the surrounding districts and interned in all of the surrounding districts, I can say emphatically, when people give me the "Oh, Bellport" look, I can proudly say to them, statistically, we have the lowest class size of any school district in any of the surrounding areas. We have the most teaching assistants in all our grade levels of any of the surrounding districts. We have some of the most amazing extracurricular activities that do not exist in the surrounding districts. We have the technology way in advance of many of the other districts. Some districts are still doing what we implemented 5, 8, 10 years ago. And so when someone says, "Oh, Bellport," I tell them, "You bet Bellport," and I can tell you why. So thank you for bringing that up, Dr. Griffin. So we do have the heart, and we also have all the hardware and the statistics to really show what a gem we are. And in fact, because I taught at William Floyd, I'm a Longwood graduate, I'm currently at Pat Med, and I interned at Sayville and Connecticut, I always say, we are the little unknown gem in the middle of all those large districts, and we are a gem. And I'm always happy when we can celebrate that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And certainly we are working diligently this year to promote how wonderful South Country is, and I think we're doing an excellent job in doing so, and we will continue to do so. Also, just we can't say enough about the high school musical. It was a phenomenal night. I was there, as Mr. Nick said, with him, and also the same night as Mr. Santo. And
I was there every night.
and so I'm anxious to see all the other performances, and this one was phenomenal as well. Also attended the Suffolk County Leadership Meeting, the South Country Leadership Meeting on Monday, February 11th. I have introduced, we always had SEED, the local environmental and education center here in Bellport, in Brookhaven they actually are. And they've always been a part of the group, and now they want to take a more active role with working with our students. And so the director of SEED is going to be meeting with Dr. Gianni to see how we can partner and bring their educational component to our students. So I'm excited to see that happen. Also was able to see a number of the Bellport High School basketball varsity games this year, and I was equally as pleased to see just how proud those kids were and how hard they worked. I was planning on attending that last game when it was going to be at 12 noon, but then it got changed to 5 and it conflicted with my schedule. But I had no idea of the conflict I would have ran into.
You would've got in.
You would've
got in with your car.
You would've, but they, like, Mr. McIntyre, Dr. Gerges had to fight his way through the door, and he's an alumni of Brentwood, so you thought he had some juice, but they almost didn't let McIntyre in.
Yeah. So I'm glad you reached out to the operatives that you had to reach out to, and I hope we do the same in following up to make sure that doesn't happen again. Were there parents who had seniors who did not get to see that game?
A handful, quite a few.
That's
Yeah,
tragic.
and the head of Section 11 and I go back a long way. I had him in 6th grade, his first year teaching at Pat Med, but he and I had a chat about it. I just, busted his chops a little bit.
Yeah.
And, Section 11's in a bad spot. Section 11, typically that game should have been in a neutral site. Last year, that game we played in, it was at Farmingdale. And I'm not saying the game would have been a different outcome, but I think that we had a better chance of winning the game had it been at a neutral site. But they lost upwards of $100,000 in funding this year. And the colleges charge the Section 11 a lot of money to use their facilities. So it becomes a difficult, decision for them to have it there. My problem was you should have found a neutral site that was a high school that could have accommodated. There's a number that could have accommodated the crowd. But that gym at Brentwood it's a big gym with not a lot of seats. It's very difficult to maneuver around. It's very crowded. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. Some crummy referees as well, but that's the losing side talking.
Well, to the point that everyone made about the team, and the hats off that we give to the coaching staff and the young men. Also, our security staff was phenomenal throughout each and every game, and I think we owe our appreciation to them as well as the teachers who serve as event sponsors to at the different games. It was really something to be a part of and something to be very proud of. And then finally, I regret I wasn't able to attend the Black History Month at the middle school last night due to a conflict in my schedule, and it had changed. That event had changed several times. But I was able to attend the Black History Month celebration at the Boys and Girls Club that was sponsored by Senator Monica Martinez. And that was also a night where community leaders and students were honored by Senator Martinez's office. It's something that the Senator's office in the past had always done, and I've attended a number of them before. And this was also another night that was to be proud of. So, and that's all I have for my reports. That brings us to public commentary. Do we have any cards? No cards? Okay, we'll move on. All right, so items to consider. We have item number F1, the consolidated school calendar.
Yeah, so we have one item for discussion this evening, and that is our 2019-20 school calendar. Classes are scheduled for our students on September 4th and faculty staff beginning on August 29th. One of the changes you'll find on this calendar, which everybody seems to be real excited about, is a full 2 weeks off for winter recess. The calendar continues at
Exciting
one.
until you get to March, when there's 6 weeks of no break.
Or the second week of the break and you got nothing to do with your kids.
That's deadly.
The calendar continues to have one snow day built in, and I offer this for the board's consideration and action.
Okay, question?
Dr. Griffin's going to ask you about Thanksgiving.
Yes, I am. I asked for this last year, and I still think it's, especially because I think we're moving away from days to hours in terms of the school
And
year.
that's part of the problem.
And that's what I wanted to ask, because I know districts are able to work it in. I also know constraints contractually and all the rest of the things that make it difficult to do this. I know effort was put into looking into it.
We did, and I think you're also aware we're looking at some things contractually that may be
Yes.
able to support that. But given this situation, the only way you could do that is just remove one of the days, and you'd be taking it out of that 2-week piece, and then you'd be out of line pieces of the BOCES and all those
Understood.
services.
No, I just wanted to reiterate that I do think there is value as a parent, having that Wednesday before Thanksgiving as a getaway day. I know as a teacher, that day before vacation is chaotic anyway. So there's very little instruction that usually happens, so it's not like you're missing that academic piece, but I do think if there's a way as we move forward to consider that as part of our process of figuring out moving forward, we consider how we can make that happen, to move things around, so it's something that we can work into the schedule.
Yeah.
I got a couple, there was something on that and then another comment. So, in all honesty, so you and I talked about this a while ago, and it seems like a great idea. The more I think about it, I would strongly object, because if my kids are off, I'm not off, and neither is my wife. So we create a day that is not typically a day that people get off, and it's very difficult for somebody in private industry to get off that day because it's only a 3-day work week. So we have to really be careful about, be nice for our staff and our kids, but if there's nobody to watch the kids, or I know it's gonna cost me $100 for somebody to watch my kid all day. So they create some issues as well.
The trade-off is when you're looking to travel, trying to leave
Yeah, no,
on
I get
that
it.
Wednesday. The money you save when you're leaving Tuesday as opposed to Wednesday. So there is always a trade-off with any decision. There's going to be positives and negatives. But again, it's to look into it and to make the most reasonable decision. And I definitely hear what you're saying, because when we have parent-teacher conferences here.
So that's
and
my
we have
next
work,
point, right?
it's-
And I bring it up every year we vote on this, right? I'm looking at 4 days that school's closed for conferences. And you guys have heard this from me before. 3 of those are elementary school days. Those are 3 vacation days that I have to burn, you know, to be able to care for or pay childcare. It's a burden. And, you know, we talk about it all the time. There's nobody, those conferences aren't filled at that age group. They're all trying to struggle to come in at night, and the time slots are 15 minutes. So you're lucky if you get through pleasantries of 5 minutes and then you try to get to work, you're rushed. And the last thing we should be doing, or any district should be doing that wants to improve school to home communication, is to limit the amount of time that you have to be face to face with your child's teacher. It's been a frustration of mine for as long as my kids have been in school. I want more time in front of my kid's teacher, not less. And it's the same thing with back to school night. I bring it up every year. Let's hear less from the principals and more from the teachers. Let's get parents in the classrooms talking to teachers proactively about their kids' education. And the only way to do that is more nights, less days off. And I know all the challenges.
Mr. Sanders?
Possibly a mediation between them, because I know there's contractual issues. Since we do have the extended day programs, like the, in essence, childcare, perhaps we could provide some service to families who may not be able to get coverage that day and just extend our program because it's very cost effective and the kids would just be dropped off in the buildings they're usually in. So it might be a middle ground to try to win-win and help everybody out. Just a thought. We might want to look into that for next year. Yeah, I mean, perhaps we could look into that for next year, so. Because it's definitely more, trust me, I know, it's definitely more cost effective than paying somebody $100
You know,
a
and on that,
day to
in the spirit of
take
that,
care of your kids at home.
in the spirit of that too, I wonder if it wouldn't be a bad, you know, community service project for some kids in the high school to have some sort of activity in the gymnasiums for parents who can't get a babysitter. And keep kids occupied while they meet with a kid's
We
teacher
used to-
for the evening
We
conferences.
used to do that for Fritz PTA, we had kids.
And I mean, all the
come in
parents are
and
good,
take
they,
care of the
you know, the
kids.
teachers usually have stuff going on,
Yeah.
but something a little more formal, say, drop kid off at the gym, so you know, you have to check, keep looking outside and worry about, you keep hearing about you discussing it, but, you know, it's tough because, you know, my wife and I, we always, all right, who's going this one, who's going the next one? If you can't get a babysitter, it'd be nice if we can both sit down there, talk to them, right?
We do have the high school service leagues, including one that's an athletic service league, so Key Club or.
I mean, even if it's
Isn't it
crafts or something, it's, you're only talking about a half an hour
Future
clip.
teachers.
Drop some kids off, do a craft
That
ball.
might be a nice win-win.
So,
Not only having positive role models at the high school level, but it might even be something that they could put on their resume for college.
yeah.
So, definitely a win-win.
But from my understanding, we need to adopt this tonight, do any?
Well, it'd be very helpful so we can be planning, yes.
So, but
My
the-
objection is I fully note that nothing can change on this now.
Okay.
Because my issue is contractual, and I know that that's not something that can change.
Saying I'm not,
We're not looking not to vote on
I
it.
just wanted to make sure it was,
All right, so
Say
then
it
you're
again.
prepared to vote on it, absolutely.
Correct.
Then we need a motion, and second to approve, motion by Ms. Marilyn, second by Mr. Santo. Any further discussion?
Just a comment, we often do bring up these great ideas. Can we just assign this to a committee? And that way it could actually be investigated and come up with some,
We investigated with those two things, I
well, I
can do
mean,
that
just in terms
administratively.
of, unless administrations can just handle
Yeah,
that. Because
I
sometimes
think
we,
we can.
we talk about great things and then we kind of forget about them.
Oh, I
Because we get
disagree
busy
with that.
doing budget things.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Whatever we talk about, we follow through on.
All due respect, Ms. Felice, I've been sitting here for 10 years,
Yeah.
and it was not a criticism, it's just a reality that we get busy when it gets to budget
Well, I
season.
can't talk about 10 years ago, but I can talk about the last 3.
Well, I'm
Especially the
going
last
to
2.
say with all due respect, things have dropped, we still do not have a legislative committee.
And that you know full well
Yeah.
that those discussions are in talks.
I've been
and that it
waiting a
will be-
year and a half,
And it
so.
will be, no, not a
Duly
year and a
noted.
half. No.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Actually,
you
more
won't
than
get
that, but since you've been here.
Okay.
So, anyway.
We have another meeting that's coming up, and that's where, and you were communicated with by email. All right, we'll move on. We'll move
well,
on. There's a motion on the floor in a second.
Truth be
We need a
told.
vote. Motion on the floor in a second. All those in favor of approving the school calendar, please raise your hands. Thank you, put them down. Oh, my hand was raised too. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we're going to request an omnibus motion for items in G1 through 3, H1 through 5, and I1 through 8. So first, we're going to vote to accept the omnibus, to take that all in one vote, then we'll do a second vote. Do you have a point? Okay. Then we will take the vote to actually approve the items in the items that we just, and I'll repeat it again. So first, we need a motion and a second for an omnibus resolution to approve as one vote items G1 through 3, H1 through 5, and I1 through 8. We have a motion and a second, motion by Ms. Malin, seconded by Mr. Nix. All those in favor of the omnibus resolution, raise your hand. Thank you, put them down. Motion passes unanimously. Now we have before us the omnibus resolution that will include all items that are presented to the board and the items G1 through 3, H1 through 5, and I1 through 8. We need a motion and a second to approve. Motion by Ms. Malin, seconded by Mr. Nix. Is there any discussion on all those items? Yes, discussion? No discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. Put them down. Seeing all hands raised, the motion passes unanimously. And next we have public commentary items. Item 1, guide through to the board. Do we have any other cards? No other cards. All right, that brings us to closing remarks. Closing remarks. Ms. Carly, anything? Okay. Mr. Santo, anything?
Yes, I do once again respectfully request information in regards to the Family Engagement Center. As I mentioned, sometimes in our haste to get other things accomplished, we have a wonderful Family Engagement Center, but this year I don't really see as many activities being planned. As I previously mentioned about a month or so ago, I see that we have some math courses going on, and then we also have some programs for parents of the ELL learners. I really would like to see a much more robust set of programs like we had in the first year or two. So we'll be getting some future plans and some future information about that.
So we're working on that. I did provide, after you had made that request, I did provide what we're doing. Many of those programs were eliminated because we weren't getting the enrollment in them. And we moved a lot of things into the buildings.
Okay.
But we are looking at creating a more robust program. But we did have difficulty with enrollment in those activities, so we ceased in doing them.
Just a thought, because I constantly hear from parents that they have difficulty with Naviance, so they don't know a lot about
Yes, you mentioned
Naviance. So, but from a parent perspective is one thing, and then I was hoping that we would certainly think about bringing back some sort of freshman course at the high school. Even if it's just every other day, even if some parents may want to opt out because they want their kids to take other things, there are plenty of students in the high school who aren't taking advantage of some of the wonderful programs we have because they simply don't have time in their schedule or an awareness of what something like Naviance could do for them. So I really do hope that we look at that from both ends of the spectrum. Sometimes, again, parent can't make an appointment at 10 o'clock in the middle of the day to come to guidance to learn about it. So perhaps a night or a weekend, schedule well in advance and advertise so that people can take advantage of those programs.
Ms. Mallon?
I have a few other things, thank you. One other thing in terms of, and I did ask about the pre-K enrollment numbers, if I could please get those current numbers, and then again, a plan of how we are going to fill the seats that we really ought to be able to fill in our pre-K program. Our numbers had gone down, and I think that's a disservice to all of us, because anyone who knows anything about education knows that early literacy is a key, and we really are not serving all of our school districts,
Total program numbers are 114 today.
which is
They've been-
very
they-
low.
They have been right at that number all year long. In terms of a plan, it wouldn't be something we can give you now until we have the RFP out and we have what it
Because
would look
remember,
like when it comes.
enrollment starts on Friday, so
Sure,
I think
but-
we could at least make people aware. In several years ago, we did have administration and social workers who happen to be Spanish-speaking social workers go to some of the local community groups, the local churches, and that did increase enrollment. And hopefully then letting parents know that we will be having transportation, so that they know that they have an opportunity to physically get their child to a pre-K program.
Isn't that
So-
a question that they
Well,
usually ask during
They
enrollment?
do answer that, but I also want to
Yeah.
remind the
Yeah,
board,
but you have to know that the enrollment is going on. Some people don't necessarily know. If you don't have a child, like even when I'm a fairly aware person, but when I had my first child about ready to go to pre-K, I didn't really know all the options or how I would go about it. So some parents may not be necessarily as aware. There's the language barrier. We really ought to, we've in the past done a very good job of that outreach, and I really think it's incumbent upon us to continue to build upon that. And if it does mean going to the Spanish-speaking churches, because that's a third of our population, it would really is something that we ought to be doing. Thank you. One last thing, in tying into talking about celebrations, something I forgot to mention. Sometimes, people will say the true test of a person's character is how you behave when people aren't watching. And I had the opportunity to hear about some very wonderful faculty members at Belfort High School who probably don't know that they were spotted doing something good. So I would like to recognize Mr. Greco and Mr. Jarman, who earlier in the month when we had that snowstorm in the middle of the day, they were seen out in the school parking lot clearing off cars of teachers and students who were otherwise perhaps not tall enough to reach the top of their cars. And I honestly can't remember, and I only know about this to be perfectly honest with you because my daughter is vertically challenged and she drives a Jeep, and Mr. Greco helped her reach the top of the car and get the snow off of that. And I don't recall if it was Mr. Greco or Mr. Jarman who stopped their car, pulled over to the side of the lane to help one of our pregnant teachers clear off their car. So sometimes, we may not always take the time to recognize people just for those little acts of kindness. And I was actually hoping that we really use this as a jumping off point for us to really make this a bit official. So just as we have like a, heard it through the grapevine thing on our website, which often tends to be something on the negative, maybe we can have something where, have you spotted someone doing something good? And that we could post that, and that we could possibly even have something more formal in which those individuals are recognized at a board meeting. I do know other school districts do it. In fact, many years ago, I recommended it at Pat Met. So I'd like to see us do that. Whether it be faculty, staff, and students. Kind of one of those things that they do in elementary school, kind of caught you doing something new. So I hope that we might consider that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Malin?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Puccini?
I had some quick, which I didn't have until Mrs. DeSanto brought a couple things that resonated. Let me tell you about that Greco guy. One day around Christmas, I think it was might have even been like Christmas Eve, my son, some of the kids here know my son, sitting in my car, decided to put his music on and turn the key. Well, my battery was dead when I came out, but it was Mr. Greco who helped jump the car. So he must be a pretty good guy with that. But anyway, I'm teasing. I like Mr. Greco. He's a good man, so it doesn't surprise me to do something like that. But one thing Mrs. DeSanto brought up that I've been remiss in bringing it up at meetings before, and I don't know why, but I noticed something today in another district that I thought I'd bring up, and it is about recognition and recognizing excellence. And I believe in years past, we recognized we had Employees of the Month, or we had significant recognition by the board for people, not just, not just teachers, but maybe any employee, students, even community members who contribute in a positive way to our school community, volunteer their time, whether it's through, coaching or mentorship in some way or another. I do believe we can bring people in and just create a bigger sense of community by recognizing the good things that are happening here, both inside our walls and outside in our community. So it probably is something we should consider. Maybe it's a person of the year, person of the month, or maybe it's just from time to time a proclamation or a recognition from somebody who says, you're doing great stuff in the community. We want you to know that we're noticing it and we think you should be recognized for it. And maybe it is the teachers who help, shovel out cars, or maybe it's somebody that, and there could be a nomination process or something. And I think it should be owned by the board. I think the recommendation from the board, and I think we should be giving out recognition to people as community group to say, hey, thanks for we want you to know we appreciate what you're doing, and, we want to bring you here and give you a nice piece of paper and take a picture. So,
We did a little something along those lines, but they had already been awarded, the teachers and the coaches, the last meeting. But that was something.
yeah, but see, to me,
Some
that's something a little bit
students
different, because it.
3 a month.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah, and I know, and in truth, you bring up a good point that, when Dr. Gianni came, we do recognize more students than we do. I think we should be recognizing academic excellence at our board meetings a little bit more. I know we just released we got on a board update, the top 10 students, we should have them here. We should showcase them. At the last board meeting, and we talked about the showcase that I envisioned for our district and our budget. Well, we have a platform here. Let's let everybody know what we're doing. And even on the nights we only have 2 or 3 community members, we're on YouTube, right? So, we're out there, and we have wonderful PR now that can push these stories out there and let people know the good stuff that's going on, so.
Okay. All right, duly noted. Put that on our next agenda meeting. Okay, we'll discuss further. Was that the end of your report?
That's it,
Chief?
thank you.
Okay. Dr. Griffin?
No more for me.
Okay, Ms. Nix? No more? And in the interest of time, I'll conclude as well. So with no other business before us, we shall take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Nix, second by Ms. Mallon. All those in favor, raise your hand.